Hi, this is Stuart McFree, Papa Producer. Yes, I'm coming up with the execution. Right, that is episode 2 of traditional medical science category versus civilization medical science category. I'd wish everyone who's actually listening there attentively, yes, be phlegmatic. Yes, then out there, because this subject is contaminated, is polluted with a lot of controversy. That's the reason why I love it so much. But it's very educated, it's challenging, it's actually sharpening our minds, reasoning power for us to understand that we cannot be stuck with certain things in life, which of course are not going to be useful for us, especially in the modern era. We cannot live in the past. We've got to live in the present. And of course, we've got to live the future for those who will be living in the future, because they'll be having that kind of acuteness, thinking properly about how to attend to that future, which of course will be their presence. Yes, right now, I am actually there to be in a position to execute this topic in order for you, yes, to be counting, if ever you want to counter, yes, if ever you want to multiply, if ever you want to add, if you want to subtract, I know you're going to have the gallantry to do that. That is actually going to make it very, very, very interesting. Yes, what I would love to attend to today is simple, straightforward thing. You know, in the previous topic, traditional medical science category versus civilization medical science category, I actually mentioned issues like witchcraft. In medical science category of both sides, traditional and civilization. Then I mentioned ghosts in both sides, traditional medical science category and civilization medical science category. Yes, what actually both subjects look at these two items that I've already mentioned and how they address them. Don't forget one thing that I actually trumpeted before. I said traditional medical science category actually gave birth to civilization medical science category. Yes, civilization medical science category is actually there to be trying to modernize, trying to beautify, trying to extract certain facts and make them us to understand. Whereas traditional medical science category, people are still living in the past, is still there. People are stuck with the manner in which, of course, it was meant for then. This is now. Let us go forward and try to see what actually Papa friend Stuart McFree has for you in this topic. I'm just firstly going to start with witchcraft. Yes, in witchcraft, based on traditional medical science category, some people start saying, yes, witchcraft, of course, people can actually be harmed when they are not actually aware. Yes, people's names can actually be mentioned, and then those people will be harmed or will be killed or be made sick. Some people are actually saying if somebody, of course, is hated by another person, or that individual is actually trying to hurt another individual, he will actually call that individual's name and take some kind of needles, which of course are actually mixed or contaminated with some kind of concoctions, and actually stack them on some kind of a little ball or some kind of a thing or item that of course he or she would have made, that of course it will resemble that particular individual who's supposed to be the victim, to be destroyed, to be killed. But let me tell you something that is lovely, surprising. Some of the things, they are just haunting our brains, they are just going through our brains because we still think in the past, and some of the things, of course, they are not really there. It's just because we are living in the past, and of course we are becoming slaves of the past. We're becoming slaves of our not understanding what is actually happening. Let me explain this witchcraft. People who are actually involved in witchcraft in traditional medical science category are actually perpetrators of crime. Those kind of people who've got some kind of expertise in knowing exactly what kind of shrubs, what poisonous, how those types of shrubs can be combined, how those type of shrubs can actually be used in order to destroy life. Yes, they'll grind them and make some kind of concoction. And of course, they'll administer them in somebody's body. Or else, all what they will ever do is they will spike somebody's food so that that individual can die or get sick. Or else, they will spike that individual's drink or beverages so that individual can get sick. And once that individual gets sick, then he's being bewitched by this individual, because this person got some kind of expertise of knowing dangerous poisonous shrubs that he can actually mix together, make solutions, and actually administer them in the individual's body, or actually spike some individual's foodstuffs. Those individuals, we are referring to them as witch doctors. They become witch doctors because they've got this kind of craft, the knowledge of knowing how to mix these actual shrubs or substances in order to destroy life. We call them witch doctors. Witch doctors are not people who are actually healing. Witch doctors are actually perpetrators of crime against mankind. Right, let us actually jump to civilization category, medical science category. We've got witch doctors in the civilization medical science category, as I mentioned in my previous topic, that is episode 1. Yes, we've got those kind of people who know the craft, who got the expertise of how to mix certain types of poisonous substances. They do it in the modern fashion, in the modern way. They each actually know how to mix them so that they should be so strong, so powerful. If ever they spike a drink or administer in somebody's body, or actually they spike some foodstuffs, which of course the person is going to eat, that individual instantly is going to die. If ever is not going to die instantly, they want this individual to suffer, to be a slave of this type of concoction. Yes, they know what type of substance to use that of course will actually make this individual to suffer and die slowly. Those individuals are perpetrators of crime. Those are what we may call expertise in that kind of crime. They are witch doctors. They've got the evil way of doing things in order to destroy men's life. Those are what we call witch doctors, based on both categories, traditional medical science category and civilization medical science category. I guess you are all going to come up in arms. You are all going to scream on top of your voices. Yes, some of you might actually look for my head and say, look, you are insulting our people, or you are insulting certain people. That is not the truth. The real thing here is we've got to understand what we are talking about. Witch doctors are perpetrators of crime based on the traditional expertise of really using certain substances or identifying certain shrubs that of course are poisonous in order to destroy human life. On the other side, the same way. They are actually expertise in actually knowing the modern way of identifying certain substances. It might not be shrubs, but it might be some kind of a soil, it might be kind of salts, it might be kind of any other thing that of course, if they mixed based on the modern way of technology, based on the modern way of doing things, once they've got the evil way of doing these type of things in order to destroy life, they are perpetrators of crime. They are witch doctors. I guess I made it very clear in my first episode. Let me just go down and give you an entertainment. Let me give you go out and give you actually a treat based on traditional medical science category. We've got the subject, it's so-called a ghost. Yes, people say based on traditional medical science category, a ghost is a spirit of the dead. People once lived in the past and they died, and of course they are haunting other individuals on planet Earth. Yes, their spirits or their souls are lingering up and down on planet Earth. Where did they get all this kind of thinking? Where did they get this kind of an idea? Yes, we may actually say they might have actually experienced all these kind of things. Those who say they've seen ghosts, let's agree with them. They've seen ghosts. But what is the reason for them to have seen those kind of spirits or those kind of visions? But now, let me tell you something lovely, surprising. Medical science, civilization medical science category got an answer because it's a baby to traditional medical science category. Civilization medical science category. Look at that issue of the ghost and say, no, there is absolutely nothing like that. We know that, of course, people are experiencing such issues. People are hearing some kind of voices. People are seeing some kind of visions. People are imagining seeing some dead people walking around. But that is not true. It's mankind's actual thinking. Yes, medical science, civilization medical science category identify ghost as poltergeist. And they say poltergeist is something that is actually very, very easy to understand. It's a recurrent, spontaneous psychokinesis, which is the result of psychic energy generated unconsciously. I'll explain that later on. Now let's look at what does traditional medical science category refer to these ghosts as. There are people who are haunting others, people who died. Can we face facts right here? Can we actually talk the reality? Let us not just think about what we have not seen and listen to lies. Let us not say, of course, these things are real, when of course we have not experienced them. If you have experienced them, I've got answers for you. Let me ask you a few questions. We've got people who are, or suburbs that are built along the graveyards. Why don't they see these ghosts? Why don't they see these spirits that are haunting or that are moving around? Because if we've got hundreds or 500 of graves that are actually established next to a suburb, why don't we see or hear people complaining about that? And why are suburbs actually established next to them, those graves? Let me ask you one thing again. Some of the cultures, some of the people, especially in the African lifestyle, their dead are actually buried in their backyards, close to their doors. They don't experience those spirits that are coming out haunting them. Why? Is this true? All right, let's actually look at one thing again. There are people who are getting killed by friends. There are people who are getting killed by others who they don't even know. If ever the ghosts are real, why don't those spirits start haunting those who killed them, or the individuals who perpetrate these crimes of murder against them? Some people will say, yes, of course. Some other people are complaining about those that they killed are haunting them. Let me tell you something. I've got answers for you. That is actually not real. That is actually not real. But let me actually be very polite to you. Simply because we did not actually have the answers, we did not have those people who would come up with spontaneous type of thinking, or the actual way of thinking and coming up with the answers during those times. When times goes on, yes, the world gets civilized. Yes, we've got civilization, medical science actually getting involved into this issue. Since, of course, it's a baby to traditional medical science category, then it came up with the answers. It went out of its way actually to find out, to establish, to constitute facts why people are actually voicing out that they see ghosts. Right, those type of ghosts, they refer to them as poltergeist. Now, according to traditional medical science category, in a house you see some photographs or portraits just flying around, or toilets being just flushed, or some basins or pots just falling around without anybody touching them. You hear some doors just being banging, and people start saying, yes, that is a ghost. Let us hear what civilization medical science category has to say about it, which is a point of fact. Civilization medical science category established a contention that there are those type of people who actually were emotionally abused, those who were mentally abused, those who were physically abused. Yes, the abuse was so severe in their hearts and minds. That kind of abuse actually made these people actually to be infiltrated by what we call schizophrenia, to be infiltrated by what we call religiously demons, actually to be infiltrated with what we call some kind of serious abuses, which of course will control their lives. During that kind of illness that of course attack these kind of individuals, which of course are actually victims of abuses, they start seeing some kind of visions. And once they see those kind of visions, they refer to those visions as ghosts, because a vision just appears and it disappears. Yes, some stage his mind establish some kind of hearing some voices, some kind of seeing a portrait falling down. Maybe a window was open, some kind of air pressure was actually filled into that room, and it ended up actually pushing that portrait to fall. Or that portrait was not properly hung on the wall. That is why it happened to drop. Yes, sometimes you find a door happen just to close on its own simply because there is some kind of air that penetrated the house, simply because one of the windows somewhere else was open. And since now the air pressure filled up that room, it actually happened to have that power of pushing that door. That is why some individuals who are emotionally abused, they'll start thinking about there must be something or somebody else in the room, and that might be a ghost. Yes, let's just go to this one. You hear a toilet being flushed and there is no one flushing it. Somehow, some way, somebody went into the toilet and he happened to touch the toilet. Once he touched the toilet, flushing the toilet, and when the water filled the actual basin before it goes into the chamber, it was hooked somewhere. Now when the water filled up that little basin, then it pushed that little ball in there. Then the toilet automatically happened to be flushed. Then somebody said, that is actually a ghost. Is there anybody who comes up who can testify and say, I have seen a ghost? If ever that is the reason a ghost is alive, why the people who were killed are not haunting those who perpetrate those crimes against them? Why are we having graveyards close by? Why are we having graves? Like as I already mentioned, some tribes and nations, they bury their dead in their backyards. Why don't they see those type of things? We've got to actually face facts right here. Right? Poltergeists, according to medical science, according to civilization medical science category, people will actually experience issues of seeing visions when, of course, they were tormented emotionally. They were abused emotionally, mentally. Sometimes, of course, it's the result of physical abuse that will result to mental abuse and emotional abuse. That will actually become severe, especially if this person does not get counseling, especially if this person does not get help from anybody who will actually cue his mind, his heart, his emotions to the proper direction. This individual will actually be preyed on by poltergeists, will preyed on by the so-called the ghost, that of course is actually what of course is being said at the spirits of those who lived in the past. That is not true. What I love about poltergeist, what I love about civilization medical science category about poltergeist, it says those images are false. Those images are built by the brain of an individual that of course is actually not stable anyway, anyhow. Let us look into it. Let us not actually concentrate on things which of course are going to put us back where we don't belong. We are the modern people. We've got civilization medical science category, which is a baby to traditional medical science category. So this baby is there to be in the position to beautify, is there to find out solutions from the mother, the father, that is traditional medical science category, to solve certain problems which of course could not actually be solved by traditional medical science category. I guess some of you will be coming up as Papa Frindosa. Where do you get all these things? Why do you have to think this way? Sometimes somebody is walking around in the bush, or sometimes he's walking in the dark. Then he feels that his hair is actually shrinking. He feels his body is getting cold. Yes, you might find that this individual is being referred to as a coward. It's not that the person is a coward. You'll find this individual once upon a time, this particular individual was abused, was attacked, was beaten up. So that kind of an abuse is still right there in this individual's life, this individual's emotions. Every time when he hears a sound or something shaking or see a little light, he started thinking about the wrong things that are going to appear and destroy him because of that abuse. Because human mind can invent a lot of things that are detrimental to mankind. If ever you want to challenge me on this, if ever you want to counter on this, you're most welcome, because Papa Frindosa is actually available to make sure that we discuss it and actually remove unnecessary fear from us. Yes, we know for a fact that if you go around in the dark, you get some thugs, criminals attacking you. Yes, you've got to have that kind of fear. That fear, simply because you're being told about criminals killing people, that becomes an abuse to your emotions. Yes, that works against your conscience. All the time you'll be thinking about one day you might get killed, you might get injured, you might get beaten up by some criminals who are coming to rob you. At the end of the day, if you hear something that is not actually fine, you start imagining certain things which are not real, which are not there. I wish to close my subject, and I'll come for more. If ever there is anything that you'd like actually to add or to subtract, or to challenge Papa Frindosa based on this, yes, you are most welcome to do that. I close my